Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Awesome Albums with Awesome Andrew. Today, I'm going to talk about an album that's so good, it's scary. Alice Cooper's 1975 album, Welcome to My Nightmare. I'm going to confuse you a bit here and say this is the first Alice Cooper solo album after Alice Cooper split up. Confusing, right? Let me explain. Vincent Furnier formed a band in 1968, and after a few failed names, the Earwigs, the Spiders, the Nazz, which was already taken by one of Todd Rundgren's bands, decided on a name change, and with a press story about using a Ouija board to conjure up the name of a mythical 17th century witch named Alice Cooper, that became the band name. But when fans went to see the band Alice Cooper, the band wasn't band, the music group Alice Cooper, they would see this guy singing on stage and assumed, oh, so this guy is Alice Cooper. To make it easier on the fans and the band, they decided to go with it. Vincent Furnier to the public is now Alice Cooper. That lasted until 1974. The band broke up. One of the big reasons is that their 1974 album, Muscle of Love, failed to come remotely close to the success of 1973's Billion Dollar Babies. Oh, such a good album. The band decided to just start working on their own stuff. Vincent decided he was going to do the same thing. He decided he's going to make a solo album. He had his name legally changed to Alice Cooper to avoid any legal conflicts with the original band. So now Vincent is Alice Cooper. He got a hold of producer Bob Ezrin, the original Alice Cooper producer. Ezrin had been working on Lou Reed's 1973 album Berlin and grabbed some of those musicians to help make Alice's new album come to life. Ezrin then got a hold of guitarists Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter, as well as bassists Prakash John and Tony Levin, drummer Pentti Whitey Glenn, to name a few from Lou Reed. Others heard on the album are Joseph Jaroski on keyboards, clavinet, vocals, and Fender Rhodes, David Ezrin, Bob Ezrin's son, and the Summerhill Children's Choir, as well as Michael Sherman and Jerry Lyon act as additional vocalists. The album took a little over 3 months to record, not counting a 6-week break when Dick Wagner suffered a drug-induced physical breakdown and recording came to a halt. He recovered, got back to Toronto, and then recording resumed. One of the big things I was wondering was you have Hunter and Wagner both on lead guitar. How does it even work? Quite well, actually. Both said that they worked out the guitar parts pretty good, but left somewhat loose and the solos were improvised. They got pretty good in playing different positions from each other, and playing off each other felt natural. They both had different styles which blended very well together. Bob Ezrin also contributed musically by adding keyboards and Fender Rhodes. With a massive team assembled, they were able to get Alice's vision off the ground. He always loved horror movies, and he always loved theater and musicals. He wanted to make a basic album and create a stage show from it, and with this, he did. After the release on the album on March 11th, 1975, there was a net $9 million tour, something that was unheard of back then. The tour had an impressive stage show which cost $500,000, featuring filmed sections, dancers, giant spiders, dancing skeletons, and a 9-foot-tall furry cyclops. There was also an hour-long TV special called Alice Cooper: The Nightmare, aired on America's ABC channel, featuring Alice taking the role of the main character in the album, unable to wake up from the nightmares. The film also won an Emmy, and is available on VHS and DVD. There was also a series of shows at London's Wembley Arena, which was recorded and released theatrically, also available for VHS and DVD. Though the album didn't get the best reviews, I fell in love with it the first time I heard it. I'm a sucker for concept albums and rock operas, and the concept is a journey through the nightmare of a child named Stephen. We realize when we listen to this album, Stephen's nightmares is not a nightmare a little boy should be having. It's pretty messed up. Although, that's what you'd expect from the godfather of shock rock. I want to talk about the album cover, then we'll jump into this nightmare. The front cover has Alice Cooper, the person, dressed all fancy-like and taking his hat off. The painting was created by Drew Struzan for Pacific Eye and Ear. Rolling Stone would later rank it at number 90 on their list of top album covers of all time. The neat thing with this painting is the style mimics J.C. Leyendecker or Norman Rockwell. This was the style Struzan was working on at the time, and this eventually led into a career in the movie poster industry. Harry Potter, Blade Runner, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, just to name a few of the big ones. The back cover, though, not as interesting as the front cover. Has a bunch of really neat insects, except that spider. I hate spiders. Although I guess it's going to eat that annoying fly, so that's fine with me. Now, I'm going to turn this light on behind me, I don't want to get scared. Okay, now I'm ready. Naturally, Alice Cooper sings all the songs, and the weird thing with this album is the personnel lineup is different for every song. So I guess where I usually put the vocals by section, I'll put the personnel in that song. The title track is interesting because it mixes elements from disco, jazz, hard rock, and keeps a heavy yet funky beat.
Welcome to my breakdown. I hope I didn't scare you.
Yeah, of course not, Alice. I'm not scared. Song reached number 45 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song also would be placed at number 10 on a list AOL Radio made of the 10 best Halloween songs. I guess this shows that this is the perfect album to play for Halloween. As you saw in the title card, Wagner co-wrote the song. He said that him and Cooper got together for nightmare songwriting sessions, started in LA, writing a couple of the other songs on the album, Department of Youth and Only Women Bleed. They then flew to the Bahamas to gain further inspiration and hopefully come up with a good concept or theme for the album. Wagner took his guitar, Alice took a pen and paper, and one day while sitting outside near the beach, a tropical storm came in, and right in the middle of that wrote, "Welcome to my nightmare." That sounds like a nightmare within itself. Lastly, Alice Cooper says the meaning of the song is up to the listener. I project images to the audience and they make up their own story to fit it. I have no messages at all. I never did. End quote by Cooper. Devil's Food is a great rock song and probably the hardest one on the album. And it's about prostitution. But I always took it as literal, like the devil is eating people, but that doesn't seem to be the case, but I think that would work for a nightmare.
Leaving Lepidoptera, please don't touch the displays, little boy.
Wait a minute. I know that voice. Isn't that Vincent Price?
Moving to the next aisle, we have Arachnidae, the spiders, our finest collection.
It actually is. Alice Cooper got Vincent Price to guest on the album. Price wasn't planned, but the song needed something. And Alice wrote to Price, and he didn't expect a reply, but apparently Price knew all about him and was excited to take the role as the curator. Price also participated in the TV special, which makes things so much cooler.
And here, my prize, the Black Widow. Isn't she lovely and so deadly?
The song really does a good job of painting a picture of this. I could just see this old, creepy museum where Vincent Price is a museum tour guide. He's just showing people this scary stuff in his collection. Spiders. And
I think what
I hate spiders.
Most about her is her inborn need to dominate, possess.
Okay, Vincent Price, you're starting to get a little scary.
If I may put forward a slice of personal philosophy, I feel that man has ruled this world as a stumbling, demented child king long enough.
Yep, getting crazy.
Crumbles, my precious Black Widow shall rise as his most fitting successor.
Yep, that curator's completely lost it.
These words he speaks are true. We're all humanary stew. We don't pledge allegiance to the Black Widow.
Devil's Food has now transitioned into Black Widow. The song is creepy to think of a giant spider sitting in a throne while people are bowing down to him.
He sits upon his throne and picks at all the bones of his husbands and his wives devoured.
It's also disturbing to think of the spider as not just a killer, but
So obscene, the virgins and the children he's deflowered.
yeah, that's I wonder if Black Widow has any connection to 2008's Along Came a Spider. All I know is I think I need to move on from the song. All this talk about spiders just scares me! It's a spider! Stupid Halloween decoration! Why'd I put a spider up there? I hate spiders.
Some folks crave.
This album goes in a little bit different direction than the rest of the album. To me, it sounds like a song from a musical, like a Broadway or something. I think it's the finger snapping to it. really catchy. The song is as sleazy as it gets, talking about the disgusting urges of mankind. This song was produced by Bob Ezrin using a demo that was recorded at the home studio of Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. Cooper was able to just walk to Dolenz' house to record that demo. Dick Wagner said the vocals on Only Women Bleed is the original rough vocal. Alice tried to do it a few times after that, but it never sounded as good as what he did live with the rest of the band, so they just kept that take. Wagner wrote what would become the music for the song in 1968 when he was with a band called The Frost. He wasn't happy with the lyrics that he used for the song, so he never recorded it, but when he teamed up with Cooper, he played the music for Alice, who attached it to a title he was looking to use. Based around that title, he and Wagner came up with the rest of the lyrics together. This is the most popular song on the album. It reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. However, they had to do a slight name change on the single, calling it simply Only Women. The reason for this change is because of a misunderstanding of what the vocals are about. No, the song isn't about women bleeding literally. It's not about the time of the month. The bleeding is how women bleed from the heart, the mind, the soul. However, because of this misunderstanding of the song, it isn't allowed to be played on the radio or in public settings. Also because of the misunderstandings of the song, feminists protested the song because of the abuse of the woman in the song. I know Alice normally likes the shock, but he actually isn't here. He's talking about how tragic it is for the woman to be in this abusive relationship. He actually has sympathy for this character and is willing to admit the situation as tragic. Maybe not necessarily the situation, but definitely because she allows it to continue. I'm kind of wondering if maybe Steven, the character in the album, is dreaming about something that he's witnessed or maybe experienced himself. Department of Youth is another rock song on the album, and a lot of people find it similar to School's Out, and you'll find out why in a minute. Cooper admits this is probably the one track most out of place within the context of A Nightmare. I wonder maybe the Department of Youth is a bunch of children rallying up to fight or something. That could be scary. Maybe they're bullies. That could be scary. I don't know, but you could probably put a spin on who the Department of Youth is and make it scary. This is the part that I feel is probably the most similar to School's Out, where you have a bunch of kids singing along with Cooper. And this one kid in the background, he's really enjoying that role. I mean, just listen to him in the background. Department of Youth! Maybe it's just me. I'm just kind of nitpicking here. This is another song that actually hit the Billboard Hot 100 at number 67. Out of all the songs on the album, I personally find this one to be the most disturbing. I mean, Black Widow is pretty messed up, don't get me wrong, but here's Cold Ethel. A story of a man who is a necrophiliac and has a relationship with a woman he keeps in the freezer. This twisted sense of humor will come to dominate a lot of Cooper's albums to come, and will be as much a source of controversy as his purposely offensive stage shows. Now, before you get all mad about Alice Cooper and his messed up writing, he's actually a really nice guy. It's all just an act. I mean, yeah, he gets into a really dark place in the late 70s, but he really turns his life around, and that's cool. And in this song, we have this creepy harpsichord playing, which I find it to be one of the highlights on the album. Great job for that eerie sound, Jarosky. And a couple of notable lyrics I want to point out was...
The carnival has closed years ago.
We're all alone right now. The song talks about this carnival that closed years ago, and we have some internal conflict.
I'm a little boy.
No, I'm a great big man.
This is the first time we learn what Steven represents. Alice Cooper says that he is the 7-year-old boy that lives in all of us and keeps us young.
Isn't that our mom?
Does that apply to girls too? Shh! Hear that? think Mom, voiced by Trish McKinnon, is calling for us. The notable thing in the song is the very Exorcist-esque piano. For more information on that song, check out my Tubular Bells video. It's such a beautiful and eerie piece of music. I like to think that in this song, Mom hears us squirming in her sleep, and it was enough to wake her up, and so she comes to our room and she's trying to wake us up. Steven! Yeah, the soft stuff isn't working. She's really shouting now. Yes, Steven, please wake up. Get us out of this nightmare. Oh, good. We finally woke up.
I wake up in the basement.
In the basement.
I must be here sleepwalking.
Well, that answers that. I guess that's why Mom was trying to wake us up. She heard us rummaging through the basement.
Suddenly I realize these crimson spots are dripping from my head.
Okay, so we woke up, but it still feels like we're in a nightmare. Apparently, while we were sleeping, we murdered somebody. Who was it? This one is probably my favorite song on the album. This, to me, is just straight up rock and roll at its finest. We are incarcerated after that murder, but now we are thinking of escape.
And while I ran my problems down, I stole this mascara.
So I guess after stealing his mascara, we're able to escape? Honestly, I'm not really sure what happened. I think we're able to escape, but Alice Cooper leaves the album open-ended. So does Steven straighten his life out? Does he kill again? We will know. And we'll find out kind of what happens to him in another 36 years. What a nightmare to be in. I mean, can you imagine if a real 7-year-old had nightmares like that? I mean, giant spider people and necrophiliacs. That's pretty messed up and scary. But despite all that, learning all that just made me love this album even more. Before researching, I never caught that Steven murdered somebody while sleepwalking. Yes, I know how obvious the lyrics are now. This album was such an important role in Alice Cooper's life and career. Alice Cooper said, "I think we got it right with this album. It has all the elements that I wanted on the record, and for a first solo album, it's not a bad start." End quote by Cooper. This album was so important that in 2011, a sequel was made. Sounds like a great idea for next October. So next October will be the sequel of Welcome to My Nightmare, Welcome to My Nightmare. Get it? Instead of Welcome to My Nightmare, it's Welcome to My Nightmare. Ah, that album is so good, and I gotta wait a whole other year to talk about it. Well, until then, we can still enjoy the original. And this has been Awesome Andrew telling you that Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare is an awesome album. And I hope you have a safe, but scary, Halloween. Let's have the spider drop one last time. Be afraid! If you enjoyed this video, you can hit that subscribe button. It'll let you know when the next video comes out. I'm not entirely sure what the next video is going to be, but if you want more Alice Cooper, I will have a few more facts that will appear in a short Awesome Albums Extras video. So stay tuned for that, and I hope to see you in another episode. Goodbye.